Hi there, Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about the Gate 41, which is fantasy and creativity. And it's also the start codon for the new year within human design. Different, a little, 3 weeks after the usual new year, but this is the human design new year. So welcome. Okay, so this started very late on January 22nd and goes until January 27th in the gate 41. We've got the Earth in the gate 31, which is influence. And most of the week, the energy definition is here with the G center and the spleen, again with the 5710. And that's the channel of perfected form. The gate 41 is right down here off the root, which seems like a funny place to be starting the new year, right? With the 41. But this is where this is the start codon. As I was saying, it's very much related to the biology of the body and how things get started and how things evolve. And so it's right down here where it's supposed to be. And then the 31 is up here coming off the bottom of the throat because it's about influence. And literally, it's about influential speaking and people who can speak with influence. And therefore, they're listened to, right? They're listened to a little more than some of the rest of us. This goes on for a few days with the 5710 and these two defined, and then we move into just no definition at all in the chart with these gates defined. So this gate 41 is called fantasy, decrease or contraction in the original I Ching, only because it's about the limitation of resources, which maximizes development of potential. So just think of it as being, like in a vice or in a tough situation or in a project where you've got a bunch of obstacles and you're not sure which way to go. That's the kind of limitation they're talking about. And that kind of limitation creates fantasy, creates new ideas, creates ideas that you'll be able to evolve into. And so this is why we call it that. So it's really, you can think of it as fantastical thinking. You can think of it as just pure creativity. You can think of it as the start of a new anything, really. It's really the pressure coming off the root. It's actually the pressure to start. It's the pressure to get things started. And it really is the beginning of a lot of new things. And so it's not really a coincidence that it occurs 3 weeks after our fiscal or calendar new year, 3 weeks after January 1st, when we're kind of in the darkness, right? We've just had our winter solstice, right? After January 1st, we're still in the darkness. We're still, waiting for the light. 3 weeks later, things are a lot different. Already a month later, the sun's setting a lot later in the evening and the sun is coming up earlier in the morning, and we begin to see signs of light, right? That we're coming back to, springtime and evolution, and things are getting brighter. So it's actually a great time to make your any goals or resolutions or visioning. If you're doing any visioning, this is a great week to do it. The incarnation crosses this week are the crosses of the unexpected, fantasy, and the alpha. And in quantum human design, we call it imagination, which fits with the creativity, right? And the gate 31 is all about influence. It's the influence or leading in the original I Ching, because if you have influence, you can be a leader. It's a lot easier to be a leader when you've got influence. And so the law of friction, whether active or passive, here engenders transference and thus influence. So it's a little bit about 41's a little bit about friction, right? Getting things started, having to leave the old, start the new. That's usually, causes friction. So does influence. Influence comes as a result of friction. There are things going on within the organization, within the project, within the corporate culture, within the family, obstacle or block or whatever it is. And then that actually is influential in changing the way things are going. So in the gene keys, arrogance is the shadow, leadership is the gift, and humility is the CD. So even with influence, you can have humility. And in quantum human design, it's called the leader. So with the 41st gene key, Richard says this is a great time if you are making resolutions or goals for the new year or have a vision, want to create a vision for the new year. This is a great week to do it. So you can do it, in basically these, 6 days or so when the sun is passing through the gate 41. It's super powerful. He also says the real reason why people fail in their New Year's resolutions is because the true New Year begins on January 22nd, when the sun moves into the 41st gene key, which is the start codon in our genetics. And that's what I was talking about with being the start codon. Literally the beginning of it's literally the beginning of the it's literally the beginning of this, the ephemeris, or the cycle, basically, going around this. He also says most people therefore make their resolutions in the old energetic year with the energy still waning, right? It's basically the end of the old year, and we're trying to make resolutions. So it's as though they're trying to begin something new, but the entire weight of the universe is against them. And it feels like that, right? You're still basically, getting over the whatever hangover you've got from Christmas and New Year's, whether it's, wine or cheese or anything else, and then you're trying to start something new and it doesn't feel right. So I'm just suggesting now is probably a better time to make those goals or resolutions if you're going to make them, and you probably will have a better idea of really what you want to do as opposed to what you thought you might have wanted to do. So here's the shadow is fantasy, the gift is anticipation, and the CD is emanation. And the whole he also says over half of your genetic code derives from other organisms from an earlier evolution. We have a lot of genetic code, but it's all A, T, C, and G. Those are the four pieces of the DNA, what they call the base of the DNA, and it's the ATG letters which denote starting something new. And so it's kind of cool from a biological standpoint that this is where the 41st gene key comes in, and then we're starting to create something new, right? We're starting, and the other distinction Richard makes is that really this gene key is about evolving. It's about finding the CD um, is emanation, or, you know, basically emanating, creating something new. The gift is anticipation. The shadow is the fantasy, right? The shadow is where we have these dreams and we're thinking about stuff and not necessarily taking the steps to get there. Really, what he says is that the 41st gene key is about evolution. It's about creating something new, perhaps out of nothing, perhaps out of a previous idea, perhaps out of a previous iteration. But you get to create something new, think about it, fantasize about it, perhaps, but then anticipate it. And the anticipation usually comes with action. And so that action, the baby steps, are what allows you to go forward and allows you to then move in the direction of what you want. And you probably know that moving in the direction of what you want will get you there. And so that's what this is all about. Richard also says that the evolution that we're looking for is different than looking for being happy, looking to be happy, right? A lot of our world looks to be happy. They think that being happy, whether it's through food or wine or video games or movies or living vicariously through celebrities or being on social media, that we think that'll make us happy. And those things are usually temporary, if anything, right? The evolution, if you're evolving, you're growing. If you're growing, you'll eventually be happy. Tenet principle that really rings true for me, and I suspect if you're watching this, it rings true for you too. So it's just a reminder, right? We want to evolve and think about the evolution and figure out how to evolve in a way that's going to help us to grow this year. And that growth will lead to the contentment, the fulfillment, the happiness, the joy, whatever you want to call it, right? So don't focus so much on what's going to make you happy. Focus on what's going to help you to evolve and grow, because that's what this is about. He also said that anticipation is the difference between genius and non-genius. Genius manifests while non-genius dreams. And so I just encourage you this year to come up with things that are going to help you to evolve and grow rather than to make you happy, and anticipate the things that are going to help you to evolve and grow. So as usual, we've got a number of people with birthdays this week, and a lot of them created created a lot, created lots of stuff, and were creative in their selected fields. And so it's everybody from writers to actors to explorers to composers and comedy. So it's a mixed bag, but they're all evolving, growing, and being creative in the process. So that's what this week is about. Find a way to do it so that it works for you, so that you're feeling like the whatever goals or visions you have for the next year or two or three are ones that will allow you to grow and evolve and therefore be content and fulfilled. That's pretty much the goal. So I hope if you agree with that, have a great time planning out your year, and I will see you next time. Be well and Happy New Year.